We here at WrestleTalk exclusively reported yesterday, we do exclusives now, don't you know? The real reason why Goldberg dropped the Blue Universal Championship to Braun Strowman at WrestleMania 36 Part 1/A Section 9 Roman numeral II. The original plan was to have Goldberg retain against Jeff Hardy so he could put over Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, because Reigns always needs more legend endorsements. But WrestleTalk.com's Louis Danger revealed that WrestleMania was always going to be Goldberg's last date in 2020, and he didn't want to wrestle anymore for the year. When WWE realized they had to get the belt off Goldberg imminently, with Reigns having to pull out of WrestleMania over health concerns, they went with Braun Strowman as the new champion, complete with all the finishers. And now WrestleZone are reporting another very interesting Goldberg story. He was never meant to win the Blue Universal Championship at Super Showdown, but he refused to lose to The Fiend. Refused to lose, name of your pay-per-view. As was widely reported at the time, the WrestleMania main event plan was to always have The Fiend defend against Roman Reigns for the Blue Universal title, while Wyatt would drop the belt to Roman for the age-old story of good overcoming evil. The two have been kept apart since The Fiend moved to SmackDown to make that eventual match feel special, and Reigns was even scheduled to win the Men's Royal Rumble match to set up the Mania title bout. Vince McMahon changed the Rumble winner just 10 days before that show though, going with Raw Executive Director Paul Heyman's choice of Drew McIntyre. Instead, WWE were going to use Roman winning the Elimination Chamber to get where they needed to go. But enter Bill Goldberg, who then wanted the age-old story of good overcoming evil for himself. For February's now compulsory match no one really wants to see but are secretly fascinated by Saudi Arabia thing, WWE booked Goldberg to take on The Fiend for the Blue Universal Championship. So far, so money. But then Goldberg's returning interview segment to set up that match did SmackDown's best rating of the year, and it was thought that turned McMahon's head, deciding to put the belt on Goldberg to give Fox the ratings they want and also to put over Reigns in a Battle of the Spears at WrestleMania. Only, according to WrestleZone, that isn't actually what happened. Apparently, Goldberg beating The Fiend for the championship was a last-minute decision in Saudi Arabia because Goldberg didn't want to risk damaging his image. Goldberg has always been very protective of his character, and more specifically, how he sees his superhero-like persona as an inspiration to younger fans, whom he's very passionate about. Just listen to him talk about why he came back to wrestling in 2016. It was all really for Sunberg. Stop taking your top off, Sunberg! Goldberg reportedly saw The Fiend as a monster, and the younger fans needed to see him come out victorious or it would ruin his character. So he bargained for creative control, presumably as part of his deal to wrestle in Saudi Arabia, and got himself a top championship run in 2020, which was easily the worst creative decision of the year so far. WrestleZone add that Bray eventually agreed to put him over, implying he initially disagreed with dropping the title because, you know, he seems like a man who favours long-term booking and coherent stories. And that's won Wyatt more favour with the locker room, because nothing screams grabbing those brass rings like agreeing to job to a part-timer ahead of the biggest show of the year. And that wasn't the only seriously dodgy decision WWE made over the last month. Thanks for your support on Patreon. Damn, Ronak Patel. In a WrestleMania match that some say is still going on, Edge brawled with Randy Orton all over the WWE Performance Center for 36 minutes. It's one of the longest matches ever at WrestleMania in actual time, second only to Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels' 60-minute plus Iron Man match, which was only that long because it's a 60-minute Iron Man match, the clue's in the name. What's baffled many is that it's not like this match was live. It's not like you only realize giving Orton and Edge over half an hour to just grunt, throw each other into objects, and let a guy count to 10 gets real repetitive real fast in hindsight. WWE had filmed this match 10 days beforehand, edited it, who knows how long the director's cut is, and then had multiple people give it the sign-off. But WWE doing overlong Orton matches is nothing new. The real controversy has come with one of the spots. While brawling in the Performance Center's weight training area, there was a moment when Orton choked Edge with a weight cable. Many viewers felt uncomfortable about the spot, as strangulation using a weight cable is exactly how Chris Benoit committed suicide. It's an odd reference to include, given WWE's almost blanket erasal of Benoit from their history after his double murder-suicide in 2007, and especially ill-timed considering Vice's widely watched Dark Side of the Ring documentary on the incident just the previous week to the match airing. WWE had plenty of time to reassess that spot and simply edit it out. Dave Meltzer has revealed it wasn't just fans who found the spot distasteful, as there were people backstage in WWE who also disapproved of including it. And he's also since added that neither Orton, Edge, or the editors of the match were to blame, as the spot was actually directly signed off on by top officials in the company, who actually overruled other people to keep the choking spot in. And that's not the only time WWE were out of step with their fan base over the weekend. Charlotte Flair tapping out Rhea Ripley to win the NXT Women's Championship at WrestleMania has also been heavily criticized by fans, with a lot of people angry that Flair was once again handed a title when she could have helped make a new star in Ripley. And now we know why WWE went for a Flair win. They still think she's a babyface. It's been reported that WWE wanted WrestleMania 36 to be a feel-good show to give fans a sense of positivity while Steve Corino works over the world. That's why so many babyfaces went over with Braun, Otis, Becky, Drew, Alexa and Nikki, Aleister Black, Elias, Kevin Owens, Undertaker, Edge, and yes, Charlotte Flair. Because despite working heel in her match and being a heel throughout the feud and cutting a heel promo on the Raw after Mania, Dave Meltzer is reporting in the eyes of Vince McMahon and WWE, she's a babyface. A babyface we're going to see a lot more of, as Meltzer is also reporting Flair will be across both Raw and NXT going forward, with no house shows, so she'll only have to work twice a week. But Charlotte Flair is just too big for two brands. She's told TV Insider she actually wants to work all three by also appearing on SmackDown. Brand split, LOL. However, there are conflicting reports over another reason Charlotte won the title. Rhea Ripley's visa might have run out, mate. She's Australian. That was very clearly an Australian accent. PW Insider reported yesterday that Ripley had been forced to return to her home country of Australia because her visa was expiring. WWE reportedly plan on broadcasting this Friday's SmackDown live from the Performance Center, where they will then tape several episodes of NXT TV over the weekend in advance, which, according to PW Insider, Ripley won't be in the United States for. Dave Meltzer, however, is disputing this in the Wrestling Observer forums, writing that Ripley currently still is in Orlando, which are seemingly backed up by her Instagram stories. There might be a combination of these two reports that are actually true though. Ripley's visa might have expired, meaning she can't work in the US, but she also can't physically fly back to Australia because of the worldwide travel restrictions in place. But the show must go on, right? Even when overwhelming medical advice is telling you don't. After tonight's episode of NXT airs, WWE will run out of new programming to put on TV. They were hoping to start up again for Friday's SmackDown, with Florida's stay-at-home order originally finishing on Thursday night, but that has now been extended to the end of the month. The very reliable Sean Ross Sapp is reporting via Fightful Select the tentative plan is to hopefully go live on Friday for SmackDown and Monday for Raw, which isn't yet officially decided, and then to also record the next 3 weeks of shows in a marathon taping schedule from the 10th to the 16th of April. PW Insider reports that WWE are taking great precautions for its workers during this session, taking over a nearby hotel for talent to stay in, just like they did for the Mania tapings, and changing the ropes, turnbuckles, aprons and canvases after every match, along with a complete sanitization of the Performance Center as they work. But according to the experts, that isn't enough. Interestingly, in the list of essential workers listed by Florida, where WWE are taping their shows, professional wrestlers or entertainers aren't listed, but media services is, which might be WWE's way of working around the state's stay-at-home order. But do you really want to be exploiting find loopholes when there's such a serious risk. The Association of Ringside Physicians have put out a statement that suggests all combat sports be suspended until the Steve Corino situation is resolved, regardless of how many people are involved. It should be noted that the ARP usually only deal with boxing and MMA events, but professional wrestling like WWE and AEW could also be considered a combat sport. The statement quite clearly warns, it is our recommendation that all combat sporting events be postponed until further notice. Any combat sport taking place during this global pandemic places their athletes, officials, and anyone else involved in the event under unnecessary risk of infection and transmission of Steve Corino. In addition, combat sports athletes often require medical attention after a bout, and we do not wish to see any additional strain on an already overwhelmed medical system. And Meltzer has been warning for weeks that people who have history with steroids could be at a higher risk of suffering a more severe reaction to the disease, which, you know, professional wrestling. Perhaps Vince could go down the Dana White route, who is actually planning to buy a private island to host his UFC events, which is a pretty evil supervillain to do, and also the plot of Dead or Alive. Independent promotions don't have the luxury of buying private islands to create their own battleverse though, and many of the smaller wrestling promotions are now fighting for survival, being unable to run any shows. To help them out, we ran our 2-day live-streamed Indie Mania event showcasing the best matches from a number of different promotions' archives, including wrestlers like Pete Dunne, Will Ospreay, the Young Bucks, Ricochet, Kenny Omega and more. As part of that, from all of your super chats, GoFundMe donations and t-shirt sales, I can now announce WrestleTalk raised over $3,000 at the weekend, which will be split equally between all the promotions involved. You can still donate at our Support Wrestling GoFundMe and by buying the event t-shirt by clicking the links in the video description below. And if you enjoyed what indie wrestling has to offer, you'll love Turnbuckle TV. Here's me to tell you more. If you liked WrestleTalk Showcase No Fans Monday and you're enjoying WrestleTalk Showcase Indie Mania, why not check out our 1-hour weekly version? WrestleTalk Showcase is available to watch as part of a 2-hour WrestleTalk block, which also includes our brand new program, the WrestleTalk Podcast Show. You can watch both shows each and every single week, starting from right now over at www.turnbuckletv.com. Simply log in and start watching. Turnbuckletv.com is already stacked full of content, but over the next few months, you'll see the platforms quickly fill up with everything from full-length shows, documentaries, shoot interviews, wrestling training, and booking seminars, full wrestling stage shows, and much, much more. Joining is easy, so check it out right now over at turnbuckletv.com. Support WrestleTalk. Support independent wrestling. Go to turnbuckletv.com now to start streaming by clicking the link in the video description below, because you've probably completed Netflix by now, so you need some excellent indie wrestling and WrestleTalk stuff to watch. And find out every John Cena vs. The Fiend Firefly Funhouse match Easter egg with Luke Owen's breakdown by clicking the video on the right. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.